Good morning from Red Robin Farm. This is Mary Catherine. Today I thought I would do a little video of this side of the house, the opposite side from the herb garden we did before. This is our shade garden, and it's shady because in the morning the house blocks the sun, and in the afternoon these big pine trees over here block the sun for the most part, and all of the undergrowth under those pine trees all through here, which is just so bad. Lots and lots of vines. And Adam is working on cleaning this out at last. You can see those big buildings over there. That's the farm next door. It's a large monoculture farm. That's actually where they store their machinery. So there's not many people over there most of the time, but we do want to have some kind of barrier between us and them. So I thought I would do a little bit of a tour of this side of the house. Here's Adam's scythe. He's been using that also to clear out the brush over there. These are a couple of holly bushes that are pretty pitiful now. They used to be massive. You were running the gauntlet when you came down those stairs, and he cut them way back. They've greened up again. We don't know if we'll keep them. I don't really like hollies like that much. There was another big holly bush of some type here that's outside of the kitchen window, which is there, and it was so big it blocked that window, and so I told Adam, oh please chop that down. So this is a kind of a rough area of the house. Adam has built, again, a little bit of wattle fencing. Well, it's not a little bit. It's not very high yet, but it does run from this point in the bed and all the way down the bed to that tree at the far end, and then wraps around again. And I'll take you through. There's most of the things in this bed are not up yet. I have hostas in here that are lovely, and I've got a very big lantana that you can see last year's growth. But it'll come back, and it will be a big shrub in here. I'll show you that later. I do have 3 early hostas that are up. I'm very excited about that, and they'll be very nice. I've got some more lantana, younger lantana that I put in. There's 3 bushes right here. In the back, that little shrub right there, I believe is a foxglove. And this right here, I'm not going to zoom because my camera tends to cut out when I zoom, but that's a beautiful fern, a nice green fern. This is some artemisia that has spread out so much, and it tends to run underneath our pine straw we put down. So there's artemisia in there, and then I've got a nice long line of daffodils that are just spent. I've also got a massive elephant ear in here, but he's not up yet. And another big elephant ear somewhere here in the middle. And then this is, we were looking for somewhere to put our lemongrass, and we didn't expect it to overwinter. And we had 4 that we had divided, and I put one over here just because I had a spot for it. Well, I was digging up one of the lemongrasses the other day, and there was a really strong lemon scent. And I looked at the little nubby things down at the bottom after you take all the dead straw-looking stuff out. And I thought, well, maybe it's alive. So we're going to give them a chance to come back. This is another fern back here. That's a painted lady fern, and we'll go around the back side in a minute. And these are, this was one amaryllis bulb a few years ago, and now it's really quite a lot, and it has not bloomed yet this year. We've had a long cold winter. This tree is just so lovely. Look at it. It's just in full gorgeous bloom. This is some kind of, I think, an ornamental cherry. Isn't that just lovely? I really want to get this blue band out from underneath the tree. The previous owner put that under there, I guess, to protect it. I apologize for the traffic. I guess to protect the tree from mowing or something. But it's pretty unsightly. And this has not been mowed yet, so it's very weedy looking up here, but Adam's going to be mowing today or tomorrow. So this is the other end of the wattle fencing ends right here, and as he gets more cuttings, he will put more wattle fencing up. This is my camellia bush, my one and only, and it's hasn't really had a great blooming year this year. But lovely red blooms. They look almost pink in that on the screen there. See, and just look at this tree. It's massive. So big. Here's the painted lady fern that I was talking about. It's very pretty foliage. It's very unusual. I like it a lot. So we've got 3. There's another elephant ear, a big old elephant ear down here. I see an iris sticking up over there. And I need to get some of this big old grass out of here. It's very much unwanted. There's other bulbs. So you see there's the tops of the lemongrass I ripped out. Other bulbs over here that the previous owner just kind of stuck in the ground, and they don't get much sun, and so they don't bloom much. This one is blooming right now. But this is one place that I took some daffodils out of the ground. You see those 2 places there, because they never bloom over here because there's too much shade. Okay. A friend told me about these shrubs. I think she called it Iliagnus. They grow very fast, very tall. This is already, oh my goodness, this is already 6 feet tall, and we only put it in last fall, I think. And so this will become a nice barrier plant between, you see our front porch, there's our front porch, and there's the road. It's very close and very loud. Adam wants to take out all of these crepe myrtles. That's some of the big boundary between us and the road. But most of the foliage is up so high it's above the house. And it interferes with the power lines up there and telephone lines or whatever those are. So he'll be taking those out, and we will keep barrier plants like the rose bush there, the Iliagnus here. We have, see, look at this Iliagnus front. He wants to maybe take some of these and put them into the ground so they'll root and start another plant. We only got, I think, 5 or 6 of them. But this Iliagnus is way up there. So they get so tall. There's another rose. And there's some wax myrtle trees that we put in here as well. But that's the front border. And hopefully it will tidy up and tighten up in years to come. This looks down our driveway toward the property with a house on the right. So over here, now this is a very, oh, got a little branch in there. This is a very sweet little Japanese maple, I think. It's got a little branch in there. But you see how grown up all of this is. This is bamboo in here, but it's not a useful bamboo. I want to keep some of these stalks for just garden use, for stakes. There's also, as you see, some irises in here. We're going to need to get those out. They've never bloomed. I didn't even know they were there until about an hour ago. And as I go to these pine trees, you see how big they are. And you see the size of the vines that have been running up them are just huge. Some of that could be poison ivy. I know some of it, a lot of it is wisteria. There's also some strangled crepe myrtles in here. There is at least, there's one forsythia down here somewhere that Adam discovered. There it is. It doesn't bloom. Poor thing. Here it is. It's trying to grow. So he's going to clear everything out, leaving only the big pine trees. And can you see, I don't want to zoom, I don't want to lose you. Can you see that beautiful red azalea in there trying to live? He will preserve that one. So we have one red azalea, and then we have another white azalea here that is in very pitiful shape, but he's going to preserve this one, and it has really run out. The base of it's back there, and it's leaning out this way for sunshine. Now if you see all these stumps, these are all pine tree stumps. These are volunteer pines from the big pine trees, of course. I mean, look at this thing. Ooh, they're so big. I hope they don't fall over on our house. But he cuts these down and uses them as fence posts. We are homeowners on a very limited budget, and there's a lot that we would love to do, that we can't afford to do. There's a lot that we would love to pay somebody to do. We can't pay anybody to do it. So it just is what it is, and we proceed slowly and do what we can and try to be satisfied with what we have. Now, what is that? That looks, oh, that is, yeah, that's another forsythia there. You can tell forsythia by these little buds there. So there's another forsythia. See more pine in there. That's Arthur, one of my roos. And look at the big stuff he is hacking out. But I think my husband has worn himself out today doing this. He's been doing it for, oh, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours this morning. But this is the forsythia that I cut the vines out of a while back. When I say a while back, I mean like 2 years ago. And so it's had a better chance to recover. You see, it still has, these are these prickly vines. They're just appalling. They really are lethal. They even cut you through good leather work gloves. And this whole border was just full of those vines. Let me come over to this pine tree. There's the ditch that runs between our property and the property next door. There's just hardly ever anybody there, so it's not really an issue of privacy. I don't like being seen from the road, honestly, but I am not a very public person. This is all wisteria vine growing up this tree. All of this. Well, that's not wisteria, that's something else. Here's this prickly vine I was talking about that is just so nasty. Look at those barbs. We have tons of that here. The chickens are thrilled at this work because it stirs up the ground and allows them to peck and peck and peck. For those of you, oh, see, look at this pine tree. Now, these chickens are still a little skittish about me. They won't come and love on me or anything. But look at the vines around this tree. This is what will eventually kill a tree like this, and then it does fall on your house. So it's important for us to get these vines. We've already cut them. When we first moved here, Adam cut them, but they still come back up, so you really have to get them out of there. But we wanted to sever them that first time. Now see, this ditch is another issue. It's a ditch that needs to be dug out and cleared out, and we'll be doing that eventually as well to get good drainage. If you want to know what wisteria looks like, it has a lovely purple blossom. Can you see any of those? I'm really hesitant to zoom up. I wish I could get a little closer, but I can't get closer because of the vines. This is a tree that's just encased in vines around its trunk. Now, if you wonder what this horrible pile is here, this is an interesting spot. Drainage is an issue where we live. We live only a few feet above sea level. And when we get big, really big hurricanes, and we can get flooding. We've had the entire house lot, everything you see here, underwater, except for the house because it sits on about 3 feet of foundation. But we've been surrounded by a pond for a few hours, for half a day, and then it drains off. And it drains off using this big black pipe. We have some concrete sitting on it to try to hold it down, because if the water gets really bad, really deep, the pipe will actually rise up and float, and you don't want that. You have to keep it down at the water level. So the water from the yard, this is kind of a, I guess they'd call this a swale somewhere else, but this is a low spot here, and the water comes in through the pipe and drains this way back toward the neighbors next door. And you can see, the pipe down here is not as sturdy. This is a junky plastic piping, but it does still work. And there's some of the black pipe. So Adam wants to build up this area, and there's some more of the black pipe there, and then it goes out, and somewhere over here, I'm sure it's all clogged up, it does empty into that creek. And this is an area that needs to be cleaned out for the pipe, but he wants to build on top of this pipe and build up this area because he wants to build an outdoor kitchen, basically. He wants to build with fire brick and cob and that kind of thing, to build an outdoor kitchen where we can cook and grill. It's difficult here in the summer because the mosquitoes are pretty bad, and it's really hard to eat outside and sit outside. But this time of year, oh, this will be so perfect. It's still cool enough to wear a sweater. So he's going to build this up. This is some of the detritus from the kitchen project. And so he's going to build this up, and then, of course, put, other stuff on top of it so it doesn't look so ugly. And then he will build a kitchen here because it is close to the house. Okay, not too far away from the house, but not too close to the road. And this part of our world is difficult to show you because there's a lot of work to be done. When I look in this little area here, there's a little birdhouse up there that would be nice to free up. There are many, you can get behind this tree, lots of daffodil bulbs. These are the little miniature daffodils back here. I should dig all of these up. None of them have ever bloomed because they don't get any sun, and I need to transplant them into a better location. Again, there's a whole nother clump of daffodils. I should get those out of there. It's a constant job. There's more back inside of there. Here's Cassie. Hello, Cassie. What are you doing, Cassie? This is my chicken coop, my new coop, and my new chicken run that Adam built for me. He totally enclosed it in 2x4 welded wire here and chicken wire underneath. And this is a black mesh that he ran over the whole top of it. And we're generally pleased so far with how it's worked. I won't go through the whole thing with you, but I wanted a protected area for my chickens so that they could not fly out and get into the dogs. But then, of course, after they've been here for a while, this was all grass and weeds and stuff. And you see there's not a green thing left in there. They ate all of it. So at some point, I do prefer for them to free range so that they can get the nutrients they really need to get from not just bugs, but from grass and greenery and weeds. So there they are. And this is Adam's little work area. This is where he builds stuff. He doesn't really have a shop yet because we don't have electricity to our outbuildings that works right now. This is a car he's going to be working on, but he needs to get it into the garage, and the garage has to be cleaned out. But some of those things are pretty far down on the priority list when you have spring coming and everything's growing and you have to get things trimmed back or planted or whatever you need to do. That's the other rooster. That's Bernie, my old rooster. I saved his life once, and we have been good friends ever since. Well, I thought, let me mention this. Again, here's some daffodils right here behind the chickens at the corner of the garage. They do bloom because they get a little bit of sun. I'm not wild about the location. But this is one of Adam's tire beds that he did, and I had the worst trouble growing lamb's ears in my shade bed over there where all the hostas are. They were beautiful, and then as soon as they got too damp, they just rotted away, as lamb's ears will do when they get too much moisture. And so I moved them. This area by the garage is higher. The property rises as it goes from the road all the way back to the barn. It rises, and it's probably by a few feet. So at this point, they were higher, and then I put them in 8 inches of tire, and they were higher yet, and they have done well here. Now, granted, I don't have as many lamb's ears. I don't have a bed full, but it's better than no lamb's ears at all. I do have to keep them weeded. I spent some time in the garden this morning weeding out my onions. They desperately needed that. I cleaned off the front porch this morning, which has served as a greenhouse for the winter, but now we're going to clear it out and make it more of a visiting area. So that's the side yard as it is right now. Oh, I think I failed to show you, in my enthusiasm for the cherry tree, I failed to show you the Japanese magnolia, which is now greening up, so its blossoms don't just leap out at you. And it never got frozen this spring. Many of them around here bloom too early and then they freeze, but this one has not had that happen. And it has the most beautiful, delicate blossoms. And it's a very large